Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. This evening, I want to talk to you all a little bit about week 2 of .07 post-Warlock nerfs that hit a couple days ago, and look at Vault of the Incarnate's parses and logs from the last 48 hours. I've been getting a lot of questions over the last few days about what spec is good in each fight, why is Razziath becoming a demo fight again, why is this build seeing play here, why is Portal being played, what is the best spec in each fight. So tonight, this video should hopefully be answering those questions for you guys from a Mythic POV. Now, like usual, Week of Wars add-ons, profiles, links to Twitch and Discord down below, where they're all for free for you guys if you're interested in that kind of stuff. To a similar extent, I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons before we get into the video. Guys, for all support on Patreon, thank you 10,000 times. I really appreciate it. If you look at supporting on Patreon, there should be a link up here as well as down below. With that being said, the 10.1 Warlock PTR spreadsheet will indeed be live on Patreon. The tier 3 Failguard rank or higher gets early access to that within a week or so. And yeah, so that being said, let's just jump right into it. So I think the best way to approach this is just to look at one tab here having every single like spec DPS wise unfiltered basically, and then one tab just being Warlocks. Now both these tabs are going to be Tuesday for US, like the 28th, however you want to look at it. For me, it's reset day, Tuesday onwards. So parses before then, pre-nerf, all that. For every class, they're not mixed in here. This is Tuesday onward. So getting into it briefly, Aranog was a good demo fight. Still is a pretty good demo fight. Half the parses here are basically demo and or fire mages. Kills are getting really fast in this fight. Sub 130, 126, 128. Not surprising. Front load demo damage with portal or just big demonic strength implosion cleave. Demo nerfs might have impacted this a little bit, but still, it's still a very good demo fight, so not too surprising to see here. Moving on, Taros, there's one Warlock parse here, being a Destro lock, which is surprising. The AF nerfs obviously hurt. I think they were a bit excessive, but, you know, what can you do? There's a lot of AF and BM here, pre-nerf. There's still a decent bit of BM, not any AF here. One Destro parse, Destro being the highest aiming spec in the game for Warlock currently, and it might even be the highest in game in general now. Very immobile, but it does get buffed every week for some reason. So, Destro putting up a parse here. 7th overall. Promo Council, no Warlocks here. The demo AoE nerfs that were probably a little unwarranted knocked us down a bit more here. We weren't dominating in the first place. And Affliction nerfs also, you know, sort of hurt here as well. The seed bug fix and all that, but that was obviously a bug. Sinarth has one parse being an AF lock, which is just the Wrath of Consumption, just focus the boss, burn it down kind of build. I don't think it's a very good lock fight. I mean, unless you're playing AF and just ignoring everything else, which it can be okay then, but not incredible either way. Dathia, one Destro lock and a meat grinder of melee. Kurog, actually, surprisingly seeing Destro at the top here. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 8. With all the buffs it gets every week over the past few months, Destro has finally taken up the reign, I guess, the spot of being one of, if not the best cleave-based spec in, like, two-target cleave-based spec in the game with good single target. Warriors up here a little bit here still too, some frost DKs, but it's finally starting to see top tier, like top parse play, I guess, or representation on Kurog, which is cool to see. Broodkeeper looking a little rough here. No locks, not a great lock fight in the first place. And Razziath having a few demo locks mixed in too here. A few Gret Pallies and stuff, but either way, not terrible. I think Warlock in 10.07 is better than where it was pre-10.07 from a Vault of the Incarnate's perspective and standing. I just don't think that Vault's a very good Warlock raid. I said it in beta during testing. I've said it for the past few months. I think a lot of these fights, I mean, the good Warlock fights, that are even like decent fights for us in general are, I guess, Aranog, Kurog, and Razziath at this point, I guess, right? I mean, Broodkeeper, not really their better options. When it comes to Dathia, they're a better option. When it comes to Sinarth, there are realistically better options from a prog standpoint. A damage standpoint, you can blow the boss up, sure, but I mean, like, depends what you're going for here. Promo Council, we're okay. There are better cleave classes than us. Taros, once again, there are better classes than us. It's just not a very Warlock-friendly raid based around what damage profiles are required and what Warlock can do. Now, that's not indicative of Warlock being bad in Aberrus. I think Aberrus Warlock looks very good. There'll be a video on that in a few days. But so I think this is just more Vault's still a bad Warlock raid. Lock's in a better spot, but yeah. So let's take a look at the actual Warlock parses here. Now, once again, these are all filtered by this Tuesday. So US reset day, post nerf and forward, all that. There might be one or two that snuck in here depending on your region or whenever you had reset. It is what it is. Can't really filter them all out based on all that exactly, but you know, we'll do what we can. So getting more into Aranog here. Now, Aranog, all demo locks. Interestingly enough, though, it's mostly Nether Portal, Grand Warlock's design play, with the Reign of Tyranny parse mixed in here, playing Nether Portal and another parse here with Reign of Tyranny, but also playing Immutable Hatred with Reign of Tyranny here, but mostly Portal. And I even said before the actual patch came out, when Immutable Hatred became a thing, and Rock got buffed, that I think Aeronog will still be a good Nether Portal fight. It's big single target focus with cleave-based, cleave-based damage every once in a while. With fights being so short, 126, 134, 128, I still think Nether Portal Demo, whether you're playing Reign of Tyranny or Grand Warlock's Design, is very good in this fight. Now, if you're looking at like a 145, 150-ish, I guess realistically kill time, Reign of Tyranny is quite possibly likely your better option. A 130 kill time means you're getting one tyrant at about 10-ish seconds into the fight, and that's it. It dies at 135, your tyrant's up cooldown at 140, right? So he probably got one tyrant in here. To a similar extent, he might have cast one at the end of the fight, and then it died. But these Grand Warlock's Design parses are getting a tyrant basically on pull, and then at like 110, 112. And the fight dies at 126, 128, 139 for that extra tyrant value. Now, it's not as single target prio focus as Reign of Tyranny would be, but it's still good. You have very large Nether Portal burst on pull with Pit Lord, still have Demonic Strength, still have Implosion Cleave, all that. Just still a very good Warlock fight. Not very surprised to see Demo like dominating top 10 here. But at the same time, Af's not doing terrible either. If you're playing the Soul Flame Vile Taint build, even just adds dying Soul Flame Cleave. Af does some decent damage. There's one here playing like Vile Taint Soul Flame stuff. For the most part, single target-esque, playing Malevolent Visionary, but this is, for the most part, honestly, a demo fight still, I'd say, through and through. As far as Terrorist is concerned, so there's a mix of everything here. Now, I want to play Immutable Hatred, Reign of Tyranny demo on this fight to see how clunky it is. There actually is a parse here, which is new, playing, they're playing, yeah, Reign of Tyranny and Immutable Hatred. Not terrible. However, I think that Af and Destro are still the better options in this fight. Now, Destro, once again, they're very high parses here, 104k, 103k, getting power infusions. Destro has been getting buffs for the past 3 months. Destro is probably the least played spec in the raid, but is one of the highest simming specs in the entire game right now. It's not played anywhere near as much because, number one, a lot of fights this tier aren't very Warlock friendly, and number two, Destro can't move. You start moving, you can't cast spells. You have no spells to cast in the move barring conflict rate. It's very awkward. And Terros, a lot of movement. Now, a 414 kill time, 407, pretty solid. You're Infernal at 5 seconds, like 335, 340. So you get full Infernal value, and the boss basically dies. I guess like 5 and 3, 305. But you get 2 Infernals, is what I'm saying. PI obviously helps with that. But either way, Destro Sim's very high. At the same time, after this fight, a lot more mobile. Playing Malevolent Visionary builds, because these kill times, depending where they're at, Malevolent Visionary is still the better PI spec of AF. You have Haunted Soul and you have Malevolent Visionary. From what I've seen in Sims, Malevolent Visionary is the better version to play if you're getting power infusion. So you've got Malevolent Visionary here, MV, MV, a Haunted Soul build here, MV, and then MV. Now, a kill time like this at 443 or whatever is a pretty solid kill time. You're going the Dark Lair basically at like 10, 215 or whatever, and like 420-ish roughly, which gives you a full Dark Lair or near a full Dark Lair, and the boss dies, which has added value and added duration from, once again, Malevolent Visionary. Now, you can make a choice of playing Destro or Af in this fight, even Demo if you want. They're all more than fine. I'd lean towards Af or Destro, but honestly, it's sort of up to you. They're all fine, and Terros should die sub 5 minutes for the most part now. Have fun with it. If you want to play Portal Demo, Godspeed. I'd play, if you're going to play Demo in this fight, I'd play Reign of Tyranny and Immutable Hatred. So, and the build also is the different build here. You're shifting out of Sack from what I've seen, 1 point in Scalding and just going full Soulfire Decimation and 2 points in Ruin, which is like, from what I've seen in Sims, looks to be the new best single target build. Yeah, we'll have a video on that in a few days too as well, updated builds, but it's hard to keep up with that when they nerf classes every 2 days. So moving on from there, Primal Council. Now, this is a bit interesting. You've got an AF lock, a Demo lock, and then a Destro lock. I don't know why there's no talents here. I can try and open up and see. AF obviously had an aura nerf. They fixed the Seed of Corruption, corruption ticking bug. Demo also had some AoE nerfs in Dreadbite and Demonic Strength, all that kind of stuff, which is sort of awkward. But I don't think this was a terrible lock fight. There are just better classes than us in this fight for sure. Whether you're a Frosty K or a Boomkin or just whatever, what have you. Top parts here being an AF lock, playing just, I would assume, the well, I sort of know the Grim Reach, Dark Soul or Soul Rot, Dark Harvest build, and just AoEing. Seed bug fix obviously hurts a bit. The AF nerfs hurt a bit. But you still get good Soul Rot, Dark Harvest, ID Cleave with Seed Cleave and Grim Reach and all that. It's still an okay option. To a similar extent, we also have another AF parts here at number 10. I'd assume playing the exact same build. For the most part, yes, it is. Actually, is the exact same build here. Now, interestingly enough, you have a Demo lock in 2. You have a handful of Destro locks, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, the Demo parse here was playing this build. Playing Guillotine, essentially the same build we were playing up until recently. Just, I wasn't playing Guillotine. I was playing a point and fell might, I believe, but this is fine either way. It was buffed by 200% this patch. Not bad. It's okay. Not the end of the world. And Destro ends up playing the AoE build. Inferno, you've got double Master Ritualist, just big purple Infernals raining, 1 point in power overwhelming. This is basically your M+ build. So this fight at this point dies very fast. 249, 240, 241, 222, 213. And all the specs here, 217, 222, 225 are all pretty close to one another. 1 power infusion, 2 and 2. Honestly, whatever spec you enjoy the most in this fight, you're more than welcome to play. They're all fine. You're not going to destroy everybody in the raid. Lock isn't bugged anymore, but they're all fine at what they do, and they're all pretty close, I'd say, for the most part. So whatever you enjoy the most, it's more than fine. The boss should die pretty fast regardless. Now, when it comes to Sonarth, things get a bit interesting. You've got Destro mixed in here, playing a bit of a spicy build. This is like no Conflagration of Chaos, no Soulfire build. It's basically the Cleave build. You're still playing Sack. He's still playing Sack. Still playing Scalding Flames. I did see a parse somewhere playing Soulfire, which was a bit interesting. I think it was this one here, which is a little scary. But at the same time, if you're just full-on tunneling boss, Destro does indeed sim very high in single target. So does AF in this fight, to a similar extent. This build ends up playing like this. Wrath of Consumption, 1 point in Soul Rot, Dark Glare, Haunt, full Dread Touch row, 1 Crescendo. A bit of a different build here. Not every build's played Soul Rot. The more recent Soul Rot play we've seen has been with Malevolent Visionary. This is not playing MV. Still playing, actually playing Soul Flame here, getting a bit more cleave value from the spiders dying. Big thing here though, Wrath of Consumption. Focusing the boss down, blowing it up in big single target by rolling Wrath with Dread Touch. These spiderlings have a very large hitbox too for Soul Flame. You can cleave the boss with them dying from a very, very, very far distance away. So that also adds some relevancy there. A bit of a mix in the builds here too. I believe there's a few Soul Rot builds. I think there's, yeah, one playing a point in Visionary. I think the gist of this is that you can play Visionary if you want, but the big points to hit on here, you want to have the Creeping Death Row, you want to have Haunt, you want to have Wrath of Consumption, and either Soul Flame and or ID. Now, people do play ID in this fight. I'm not as big a fan of it. I played a mix of both, honestly, ID and Soul Flame. I think this is a little better, but at the same time, they're probably both fine. AF and Destro in this fight still dominating a good bit. Demo in this fight is putrid. I played it last week. Your pets still bug out. Don't bother playing Demo here. If you need Ag Cleave, you can play Destro and blow it up. If you don't, you can play AF and kill the boss as AF and have a good time. But Destro fight, AF fight, I wouldn't play Demo here at all. Now, Dathia, interestingly enough, actually a Demo parse here. Playing Immutable Hatred, Reign of Tyranny. I wanted to play this. I want to play this as well. Test it out. I would assume he's staying main platform. Not really going up to any ads or anything here. Let's take a look briefly. Yes, he is main platform. This is just pure blast the boss down, do big damage, which, to be fair, you can do as Destro. You can do as AF, you can do as Demo. Every Warlock spec suited for that, sort of, at this point. He's also on the main platform here, just blowing the boss up, not doing a whole lot else there. And to a similar extent, this parse here, he has also main platform damage. So there are groups going up if you're a Warlock at times to platforms. Guilds are killing it pretty fast now. I think this is a double shelf kill at 423. There's a lot of disparity here too. 423 and 721. If you are going up to kill ads, you see more or less, like, I guess more so a Rain of Fire build. At times playing Inferno, at times not. If you're not, you're typically downstairs playing full single target build, whether it's Soulfire or Conflagration of Chaos. To a similar extent, if you're AF, you're just playing basically full single target AF, Siphon Life, Vile Taint, all this stuff here. Dark Lair, you're playing Haunted Soul here. This build here of Demo, Reign of Tyranny, Immutable Hatred. You can go up to the platforms. Lock is not incredible at doing it. Most of the kills I see just leave Warlocks down at this point, especially speed kills. But yeah, all three specs are fine here around the main platform. If you're killing ads, it's certainly more of a Destro and AF angle. As AF, you can just Vile Taint them, get a bit of cleave in there, rapture things down. As Destro, put some points in Rain of Fire, you can do some damage too. But either way, I mean, all three lock specs are fine here. I don't think any lock spec excels here. They're all just sort of there to, like, I guess just do what they need to do. So moving on to Kurog. Kurog is a wall of Destro. I don't know what the highest non-Destro parse is in this fight. We can take a look here. Let's see. Destro getting multiple buffs over the past few weeks and all that kind of stuff. It was a good fight for Destro in the first place. It was played during Prog. The highest non-Destro parse is, sorry, page 2 at this point. It's going to be a little ways. I might even be further than that. The highest Destro parse being 141k. The highest non-Destro parse, a demo parse at 184 doing 108k, so about 30k less. Nonetheless, still impressive for Demonology, playing Nether Portal, which is probably a solid idea. Good kill time for Portal here too, being 650. Now the big thing here, there has been some variance in builds lately. It's always been, do you take Mayhem or do you take Havoc? With the ads dying faster and faster, I've opted just to play Mayhem and just hope for good RNG when the ads are alive for just big boss damage and big funnel. I'm not surprised to see Mayhem taking over here, being the higher simming version of it. At the same time, someone goes in with a longer kill, or adds the longer with Havoc and gets good RNG and just procs and things in general. Havoc can overtake these two. But I mean, either way, Mayhem looks to be the higher performer here, and I expected it to be. The builds are pretty similar. Some builds do play a point in Fire and Brimstone still. I have moved away from that, started playing Sack and the Scalding Flames. I'm not sure what I'm going to do this week, though, because Sack's not as good anymore, obviously. It might be worth pulling a point out of Sack and throwing it in FMB again, possibly. I need to experiment a bit more with that. But either way, Kurog, a big Destro fight, big Havoc Cleave fight, whether you're playing Mayhem or Havoc itself. Mayhem, big rolling Havoc RNG. Destro Lock finally feels like it's in a good spot on Kurog. It feels like it's in a spot it should have been in week 1 and 2. They got it right. It was just, 3 months too late. But either way, Kurog is a huge Destro fight. And when it comes to Brewkeeper, this has mostly been a demo fight. There's been some AF mix in here and some Destro from time to time. Unsurprisingly, well, demo here again. Now, this is playing Immutable Hatred, Reign of Tyranny. And interestingly enough, I like the Immutable Hatred play a lot here. We talked about this before Hatred came out, is that Hatred, even in plus at times, right? Previously, you played a build like this, but you didn't play this capstone here. You played basically this build here with Felmite, I'm pretty sure. And the reason was because you could have played Guillotine at times in heavy AoE if you're on ads. But it's not really worth it. The ads not fast enough without it. There are points better allocated in other parts of your talent tree. Another Portal felt terrible in this fight if you were assigned to ads. If you're on the boss, you played probably just AF at that point. Now, Immutable Hatred, on the other hand, gives you a little bit of value if you're on the ads in phase 1, because the second part of this ability can indeed still trigger an AoE if you're hitting the same target 3 times. But the bigger thing is that in phase 2, when the boss is active, it gives you more of a single target profile, which Demo was severely lacking in this fight. I've seen some builds play Reign of Tyranny. I've seen some builds play Grand Warlock's Design. I think GW is probably a little better, just for like more Tyrant syncing on the ads and stuff. Tyrant was pretty tight cast time wise on the ads in the first place. I probably lean more towards the GWD build, but either way, it's cool seeing Immutable Hatred here. I definitely play it again whenever we're in next time. Destro being here as well is a bit interesting also. He's playing more or less a big cleave build, Rain of Fire, Inferno, and stuff too. And at this point, I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised to see an AF parse pop up at some point, depending on what happens with Soul Flame value and big AoE. It's where it depends. You can also filter by just overall boss damage in this fight too if you want, because it is like phase 2, basically being single target. If you want to essentially remove the ad damage from this fight, the cleave. And what I saw last time was a lot of AF parses. Yep, and unsurprisingly, there's a lot of AF parses here. I've recently been assigned to the boss for our last 3 or 4 re-kills or whatever, playing AF. I just follow it around. You just do AF stuff in single target, and the boss is low in the final phase, and you just kill it. So whatever you need in this fight, Lock's customizable. AF single target, Demo AoE with Immutable Hatred for phase 2. Destro can even AoE and have some good value in phase 2. Destro's still very good in single target. I mean, this build here, still like not playing Rain of Fire and things, but still very good single target. It's a grab bag. Lock's customizable in this fight. It's not an incredible Lock fight, but Lock is better in 0.7 than it was before 0.7. I'd say I'm Brewkeeper there now. Now, moving on to Razageth. This is where things get really interesting. There's a mix of both Demonology and Affliction here. And these parses, this mix of specs here, reminds me a lot of after 10.0.5, when Affliction got buffed. but not as buffed as it is now, where you saw a mix of Destro, or sorry, a mix of Demo and a mix of AF. Now, there's mostly PI parses here. There's one non-PI AF parse, actually two non-PI AF parses here. And I think, I'll say off the bat, you can play both specs in this fight. AF was better up until reset when it got nerfed again. So AF got a 2% aura nerf. It got the Dark Lair nerf, which hurt Malevolent Visionary and even Haunted Soul a little bit. It also got the Seed of Corruption fixed. The Seed of Corruption, corruption tick bug was fixed and all that, right? Now, Demonic Inspiration, Wrath of Minion, those bugs affect every spec, right? Every spec was gaining value for those. But Demonology, when it got fixed, was affected the least because the majority of your damage is Demonology as pets, not you, the player. So Demonology was gained a little bit there. But the big thing is that you can play either spec, but I feel like there's two different builds of AF here. So there's some Haunted Soul play here, Haunted Soul, Malevolent Visionary being here, and Haunted Soul. Now, the highest non-PI parse is Malevolent Visionary. If I can pull this up here, I would assume he probably decimates Storm Surge shields. If we can filter by this, because he has Soul Rot every Storm Surge shield, right? Dark Lair first shield, Dark Lair third shield, Storm Surge every shield, big Rapture damage, and his overall shield damage, yeah, it was 17 million. He destroyed the shields. He probably obliterated this one here. Let's see. He, yes, obliterated that shield, doing, yeah, 6.1 million, right? So, Malevolent Visionary, solid here. When it comes to Haunted Soul parses, I guess it's not bad here either. I'd assume his damage is still good on the shields, maybe not as good due to not having Soul Rot for every shield, but still solid nonetheless. Let's take a look here briefly. Once again, these are both without any PIs here. Yeah, not bad overall. He did a solid 12.5 and 12.3. But once again, Malevolent Visionary having Soul Rot for every shield, having Dark Lair for first shield and third shield with Malevolent Visionary just brings more of that damage amp when you have that Storm Surge buff with the damage increase and all of that. Now, Demo, on the other hand, is in an interesting spot too, because this is the highest parse here, playing Reign of Tyranny and Immutable Hatred. Now, the interesting thing about this is that if you're playing Reign of Tyranny in this fight, there is no way to get a Tyrant onto every Storm Surge shield. You just can't do it. The shields start about 1:10 after one another. It's just impossible. Benevolent Fairy is not a thing anymore. You just can't do it, right? Now, looking at their overall shield damage, this is the number one Demonology parse right here, right? Getting 4 PIs compared to the top AF parse playing Malevolent Visionary, with Soul Rot getting 0 PIs, right? So here's the Demo parse right here. Shield damage looks like, for him, about, I don't know, yeah, 13 million roughly. 13 mil, 17.8k DPS. Once again, the Aflock here playing Malevolent Visionary did 17 million at 24k DPS with no power infusions, which is very interesting. So now, if you had a Tyrant for every single shield here, as Demo, for Reign of Tyranny, it'd be much higher. His first shield damage with Tyrant and Reign of Tyranny and Felguard and everything looks to be pretty high, decently high, about 3.6. But the big thing in this fight, shields have been nerfed, so they're not as relevant in the sense. You're not getting as long of a damage amp duration over the course of that shield, right? And Reign of Tyranny ensures your Tyrants hit hard. You can Tyrant twice in the first phase, I believe twice in the first phase, once in the intermission, I believe twice in phase 2, and then you get 2 Tyrants in phase 3. So it's not as bad as it may seem. Plus, you have Immutable Hatred, which gives you just a permanent increase in the boss. Your pet is cranking the boss the whole time. Because the phase 1, single target. Phase 2, single target. Phase 3, single target. A bit of cleave in the intermissions, but Demo's still good at cleaving there. So I would assume the longer this goes, you likely see more Demonology parses beginning to overtake a bit more here, just due to how strong Demonology is with power infusion now. It is the best spec in the game for PI, with Reign of Tyranny. It's not even close from what I've seen in Sims. And next patch in Aberrus, whenever that happens, if our tier bonus stays the same, we're going to be even bigger PI targets. So as far as Rask is concerned, I would assume long-term this becomes more Demonology play again. I could be wrong, but either way, both specs, even breaking it down for 5 minutes here, they're both good. You can play Demo, you can play AF, but I would not play Destro on Mythic Razagath. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully that clarified, I guess, what specs are being played and what fights still, what builds have changed, and all of that. I tried to make it sort of fast. It might have seemed a little bit rambly, I guess, quick, but don't want the video to be half an hour long, which it might be at this point. But yeah, a lot of questions about what specs are being played on what fight, where they're good, where they're bad. So hopefully it helped answer those questions. Not a whole lot's changed. it sort of seems how it sort of feels how it used to be, honestly, like even pre 0.5. It's just not a great lock tier. I think a lot of fights are just not really great caster fights in general this tier, but Aberrus feels like the polar opposite. A lot of really good lock fights in Aberrus, a lot of single target emphasis and all that. So we'll see where it goes. Mythic testing begins actually in about 16 hours from now, so we should have an even better idea over the next week or so. But yeah, so any questions, put them down below in the comment section. I will be sure to get back to you. As always, Weekly Warriors add-ons and profiles, links are down below on Twitch and Discord for free for you guys. And like usual, as always, a huge shout out to my patrons. Thank you for all supporting on Patreon, guys. Appreciate it a million times. Thank you. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, I'm dying here. There should be a link up here as well as down below in the video description. And like I mentioned before, the 10.1 Warlock PTR spreadsheet will indeed be going live in a few days, probably like a week or so. The tier 3 failure rank or higher gets early access to that on Patreon if you're interested. And yeah, like it obviously is unfortunate that Warlock got nerfed a handful of times. Bug fixes are bug fixes. They're going to be coming in however it is. But PTR testing last week did indeed still have the Wrath of Minion Demonic Inspiration bugs in. This week, though, testing it begins in about 16 hours. A blank slate, or a clean slate, I should say. There are no bugs. There's no... We forgot to buff or nerf this. What you see on PTR is what you see on retail for testing. So hopefully, Warlock's doing pretty well. We only have to sandbag the hidden build for a few more weeks here anyways, because, you know, yeah. So, but all that being said, jokes aside, thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, hit the like and sub buttons up top and below. It helps out a ton. And I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.